Hello and welcome to this short video on ICA qualifications, particularly looking at level 4. I think level 4 is a really interesting qualification because it takes knowledge and understanding and talks about how to use it, the practical application. What would you do differently at your desk as a compliance professional? And that's what makes it such an interesting qualification to teach. I'm Heather Worcester. I'm one of the trainers based in the training and education team who leads on level 4 qualification. And what I'd like to do over the next 10 minutes or so is share with you some information around what past students have said, what sort of subject matter we cover, how we cover it, and share with you some of the answers to the common questions that we get asked by people. And to those questions, well, the first question is actually often how to choose what to study. There are so many different ways in which a compliance professional can be pulled in terms of knowledge and understanding these days that it's quite difficult to isolate what's the best course of action right now. And past students have suggested that there are two questions which are really helpful. The first is to look at what you do now and maybe do like a skills audit, a mini understanding of how you're performing in your role. Do you know all that you need to? Are you just so across your brief that you get it all? Or are there areas that you'd like to consolidate where you feel maybe you don't have as much experience there as in other areas? Maybe the entity that you work with doesn't have products and services that take you into that sort of conversation or that workspace. So by doing a formal qualification which covers the entire remit, you would actually become stronger in your role. Alternatively, it might be that you think about, I'm okay with where I'm at, but I'm looking for my next job. I'm looking for my next career move. And maybe a level 4 qualification could help equip you for that. It would be built upon knowledge and understanding, but it also delivers on applying. So you could stand out in a short list for an interviewer saying, you've made a serious effort to really get your head around what the job is all about, and to some extent hit the ground running, understanding what to do in different circumstances. A question for you to resolve. Which is the course content that's going to be right for you? Having decided upon that, there'll be questions about, well, what does a level 4 entail in terms of what do I get out of it? How long does it take to study it? What do I have to do basically to get on with this? And I want to answer those by starting off by talking about the qualifications themselves. At the ICA, we have 5 level 4 qualifications in different areas around the compliance suite of knowledge. The first 3 courses I'm going to talk to you about are in the financial crime control space. The second 2 are in the GRC, or the governance, risk and compliance space. And these are they. So you see anti-money laundering, practical due diligence and managing fraud. Those 3 are our level 4 qualifications for financial crime controls. And in them we build upon knowledge and understanding to talk about, so what do you do? What do you do to help keep the bad actors out of the system and thwart, for example, money laundering? We learn about, okay, the terrorist funding and sanctions, the international bodies, but then think about a risk-based approach as to what actions need to be taken, what's an effective framework and how to challenge that if it isn't delivering all that it ought. With regard to practical CDD, we'll look at the onboarding of a corporate entity and we'll go from start to finish thinking about what are the red flags, what could this signify, why do we want to take a deep delve here, and why do we say this area in our risk appetite statement we're okay with leaving. And just to calibrate judgment around the practical application of the requirements that are legal and regulatory and just darn good sense. With regard to managing fraud, which is a hugely growing area, particularly in times of COVID, we think about, let's look at the motivators and the behaviours that will help us then identify red flags. We'll look at counter fraud strategies, what do you do? And think about response management, how to deal with these issues when you come across them. With regard to the GRC courses, we'll look at them in 2 areas, 2 sides of the same coin perhaps. We'll think about the regulated environment and the regulator's powers of control, and we'll think about conduct. We'll think about skills and what do they look like when they are being delivered upon. And think about the requirements that we need to actually see day to day. With regard to business compliance, That's thinking about the relationships and the influences. How do you set up a culture and expectation for compliance? And what do you do with regard to checking that's happening? What about the alerts and controls that are in place and the responses to make sure that we do deliver on a culture of compliance at the right standard? Those are our 5 formal courses at level 4. We have been listening to people in the compliance space who are acquiring a new area of responsibility in cyber risk management. And we have recently crafted 2 courses, teaming up with the NIST, to create courses for people who have some awareness, but not a great deal of knowledge or understanding, and are finding that they want to know more. And we have crafted 2 courses. The first course is if you find as a compliance professional, you have acquired cyber risk management as part of your remit and you need to know more, you need to know what to do to manage this, then you might find that that first course as a certified cyber risk officer is going to be appropriate and give you the knowledge, the understanding and the application skills you need. You may, however, have looked at this and decided it's an area that interests you and it's a growing job market and you would like to have a more detailed knowledge, in which case I'd suggest the NIST Cyber Security Expert qualification would be something that would hold your interest. Both start at interested beginner level and take you on a journey. And that journey, let me describe to you how we take the journeys with regard to level 4 by talking to you about course format. We have a standardised approach to level 4 learning and it will take you through a series of steps. And this is what we would outline as a typical programme. It will take 6 months of study to be able to acquire the knowledge, the skills and the application contained within the qualification. You will have a manual, but in addition to that you will have a variety of different media-rich tools because we understand that people learn differently, have different chunks of time available. But what we will also, a lot of it will be self-paced and you can choose what and when. We will have a trainer-led virtual classroom. That will be a face-to-face, be it video or be it face-to-face post-COVID, interaction with the tutor, live discussions, asking you questions, challenging thinking, pulling apart ideas, and actually ending up with thinking, I get why this works in this way, and I now know how to do it in my environment. As a way of consolidating that approach, we also have a trainer-led immersive case study. It's a chunk of time, a complex, evolving story, asking you for decisions, asking you to think through different conundrums. And because it is quite fast-paced, it's followed by a case study debrief where we think, wow, so we know what we did, why did we do it? Why did we make those decisions? What were the options? What were the opportunities? And to work through really consolidating the learning at a very practical level and applying it also to, and in your role, what could you have done? In terms of testing the outcomes of the qualification, for the practical CDD, it's a 3-hour examination. For the other courses, it's a 2,500 word assignment, and there are 2 of them, different points throughout the course. When you do the assignments, you'll get feedback and you will understand how to improve your performance should you want to chase a higher grade. In terms of what to expect as you go on that journey with us, I'd like to talk a little bit about the learning experience. I mentioned earlier that we know that people are different. They have different learning styles, different aptitudes, different concentration spans. So we have a hub of our learning management system, and around that we will give you a variety of offerings. The learning platform will contain things like blogs, access to webinars, articles, links to our In Compliance magazine. You'll have tutor support, and we have a tutor forum where you can pose questions and can discuss your understanding of where you're getting to in your reading. I've mentioned the virtual classrooms and the assessment and the immersive learning, and throughout the process you will get feedback. In terms of how this actually plays out and what we do, it's very much discussion based when you meet with a tutor, because that's all about calibrating judgment and understanding and what you do in this circumstance. And I've just taken a few slides from some of the live VCs to share with you and give you a flavour of what it's about. The first slide I've taken is from the practical CDD process, and it shows an overview of the entire structure of the course. We start with the identification of a potential customer, a client that we may or may not want to onboard. And we take them through the CDD process as a way of building our understanding of the risk. And at the end, we decide, do we want to accept the risks that this potential relationship poses to us? Along the way, we are calling out different ideas, standards, judgments, as we are using the practical tools that we have for uncovering risk. And we'll talk about, so how is source of funds different to source of wealth? Where do we look differently? Why do we look? How do we calibrate the decisions that we make as an outcome of the facts that we find? What do we think about the role of PEPs, politically exposed persons? What sort of threat are they and why? How to judge when we're facing a series of circumstances? Do we want to do tight ongoing monitoring control around that, or are we relaxed? Where do we have our judgment? And we end up saying that the outcomes that we're looking to achieve with the CDD process are customer ID, deciding whether or not we want to accept the relationship, and we have a structured KYC file as our record. I've taken a slide from a GRC course where we talk about why do we actually need regulation? We stop at level 4 being the mere recipients of instruction, and we think about it. So who benefits? What are the aims of those benefits? And what's the price? I mean, there is the cost. The cost is quite significant to the financial services industry. There are also other costs. Does it restrict competition? Does it stop innovation? So let's loop back now to the benefits and make sure that when we are applying regulation, we're doing so effectively and in a way that does actually meet the aims of the regulators and deliver the right outcomes to clients, consumers, and to the markets. Another slide that I have, which I like very much, is to talk about the benefits of what we do. We use a case study looking at Equatorial Guinea. It's a country very rich in oil resources, and if you look at the figures on paper, you would expect to see a standard of living akin to many Western European countries. That's not the case. Only 4 out of 10 children have adequate educations. Only 3 out of 4 children have the basic minimum required vaccinations to be healthy. And only 5 out of 10 of the population have adequate drinking water. So how come? How come when you have such a rich country that you have such a low, poor standard of living? And this for me is why it matters so much what we do. They have such poor standard of living because of PEPs, stripping funds out of the public purse, being allowed to spend money buying apartments in New York, in Paris, having huge collections of cars and watches and wonderful standards of living, apparently all on $25,000 a year. And compliance is the route to stopping these bad actors stripping their countries and many other acts of financial crime. And that's why I believe that compliance is very important in making sure that such things are curtailed, are limited, maybe even cease. And in terms of how we communicate that message, our students say, yeah, we broadly get it right. We have always sought student comments. We always know that we can improve, but it seems that we do get a lot of things right according to comments, and you may have already seen some of the student feedback videos that accompany this event. So if you were to decide to join us, what would you find? What would you meet? Well, we have a series of agencies within the organisation that are designed to help make the student journey easier and slicker. We have a learning engagement team that will help you sign on for a course and deal with any questions that you have in terms of, is it the right question, is it the right course for you? We have a learning management team once you are signed up to help you navigate the learning management system, to help you find those webinars, those podcasts, to get involved in discussions. The training and education team will be on hand to run the virtual classrooms or the face-to-face classrooms, to deal with any queries that you have, to clarify issues as you go along studying the materials. Our assessment team will provide a briefing before an assessment to explain what they're looking for, what good looks like in terms of just physically submitting the document, through to how to understand what the expectations are with the assessment team. We have an events team who will put on events like this and also help you celebrate your graduation ceremony, virtually or in reality. We also have a membership team who will support you ongoing journey. One of the key things that we can do is help you grow your network and maintain your current professional knowledge. So that's been a bit of a quick tour through level 4 and some wider benefits. I'd suggest that the next bit is over to you. The next steps are to ask yourself those 2 questions. What do you want to study next? What do you want to have as a practical application of knowledge and understanding to improve you as a compliance professional in role? Look forward to meeting you.